Welcome to Bacon's Lodge, where I will build many things, fix even more, and try to make it an adventure along the way. So this is the shop space that we're going to be setting up for a YouTube studio and to be used as just a workshop. So we need to make this carpenter's bench be able to fit in here nicely and be able to move around it. There is this pole here that's about halfway through the room, and we want to be able to make it so that if the bench is up against it, I can still walk around the other side of it comfortably. For the measurement, we want to make sure that we can, like I said, put the bench between this post and this. So we're going to measure that out now. The overall length, we're just going to get a rough measurement here. So I'm just going to catch it up there. And I'm going to run it over to here. I have 113 inches, so we'll call it 112. So that's 9'4". The intention was to make it about 5 foot long because these are 10'6" boards that we milled this spring. So we're going to make it at the 5 foot mark, I think would be perfect because that'll give us about a little over 4 feet to walk over there. I do have a cold air return in the floor there that we're going to be able to still not block. That way we can actually get some clean air in here and make it so we can breathe pretty well. So that'll be the length of it. It'll be about 5 feet long. And the width, I'm going to measure out. The intention is to do about 3 feet because I don't want to do any panel work in here as far as full sheets of 4x8 plywood, but we want to be able to do some field work as well. So the room is a little over 11 feet wide. So 3 feet would be no problem at all. You'd still be able to have 4 or 5 feet over here and 3 or 4 feet over there. We'll be able to move it around. So the idea here is we're going to make it to be between about a 5 foot by 3 foot table. In the table, we're going to have a recessed tool area. So it's a carpenter's bench. We're going to be cutting down these boards to half what they are now. The overall length of the bench at the end is going to be 5 foot, but until it's all glued up and screwed and in place, we're going to have them long. So that way we can just smooth off the ends when we're all done and make sure they're all in a nice straight line. So to do that, because I'm lazy and I don't want to have to use the tape measure every single time, what I'm doing is I'm just taking the tape measure, buttoning it up to the cabinet over there, and measuring out to the middle of this fence here. This is not a precise measurement. It's at 5'3". That way we have them cut down to a size where they're manageable. So we're going to be ripping the boards down to 5.5 inches. They're not jointed because I don't have a jointer. Hopefully I'll be getting one soon. But so we're just going to basically go with the straightest edge possible up against the fence and then rip it down so they're all the same width. So we're going to be using this thickness planer to smooth these boards out. Right now they're rough. It's kind of, it would probably just pick up on the film and all, but we need to smooth these out so that the two gluing surfaces actually have a smoother surface to bond. It's going to have a lot of screws in it as well, but the glue will hold it together a lot better and more sturdy. The thickness planer is not the best tool to start out with for this. It would be a jointer to smooth out the board first and then use the planer to smooth out the other side. I don't have a jointer, so I'm going to do it this way. It's not perfect, but it'll get it really good for what I'm doing. For this next segment of the video, I want to ask your advice. I'm trying to make these videos better, and if you made it this far into the video, you might actually comment back to me. You're probably somebody who either cares about this channel building or you just really like benches, which is cool too. But if you can comment and let me know which style you like better. The first style I'm going to do is where I clip multiple shots together, where it'll be me setting something up, grabbing something, and it'll be about 2 seconds per frame, hopefully. And then the second half will be just doing the work. A lot of the people that I am trying to take advice from on YouTube as far as how to film, they say to do the chop it up into 2 seconds. But then when I watch a lot of videos, some successful videos don't do that at all. I don't mind doing the extra, they call it a B-roll footage, but if it's not necessary and I can show you what I need to do and it's just as good, that'll work too. So if you could please comment and give me some advice back, I'd really, really, really appreciate it. To put these together, we're going to be using Dyke Bond 2 premium wood glue. I've had this laying around for a couple of years, so it's kind of a little thick, but it should still work. We're also going to be using construction screws. Like these are also, most of this project is stuff that I've had around my shop. These are a little bit short, but between the two of them, it should work really well. The reason why you want to not just screw it, but you want to glue it and screw it is the glue will help the changes in humidity. That way it'll hold up better. And also you can fill up some of the cracks, and later we'll go through with wood filler and fill up the top as well. So the idea on this is that I want to go every 6 inches, starting 4 inches from the end. I'm going to be cutting off the end here, so I want to start in a little bit, and then we're going to go from there on out. Once we get a couple of these stacked up, I'll mark it on the top, and then every 6 inches, one's going to be in the top, one's going to be the bottom, so it'll stagger, and then the other side will be the opposite. Now when I rip these down, I told you that I didn't have a jointer, so that the tops aren't going to all be very level. On this top, they're going to be not completely in line. We'll resolve that all when we're done, when we set it all up, because we're going to plane the top of it with a router sled. Okay, so you just saw I glued all these together and it ran out of glue, but we're at a place where we can stop it now because I have 6x6s left over from another project. And what I want to use is these as the legs. I want them to be able to be sandwiched between the layers of the bench itself. So the width of the next 3 boards is 4 5/8. This, of course, is a 5 3/8 because that's what passes for a 6x6 nowadays. So I need to rip off 5.5 inches down by the amount to get it down to 4 5/8. Measure down 5.5 inches, make a mark. I'm going to go all the way across. Okay, to set the 3/4 inch mark, I'm going to use a speed square setting on top. So you can ride right along that edge there. And I'm going to take it to the 3/4 inch mark here and just drag it across and make a nice mark here. Then to set the circular saw to the right depth with the battery off, we pull back the safety fence, set it so the bottom is flat on the log, pull back the adjuster stop, and slide it down through that line and lock it in. My blade is right on that line. And then we're going to make a whole bunch of marks here to make sure that it cuts through. But before that, I got to put my safety glasses on and my hearing protection. Now we're going to clamp it securely so that I can use a chisel. I have my chisel and mallet here, and I'm just going to hit them the best I can with the mallet first. So I got to set the length of the legs now. To do that, what I'm going to do first here is going to take a board. I got them pretty close already. But you take a board and you push them up against the end here. And you tap them until they are all touching. The height of the table saw is 35 7/8. So we're going to mark it out at 36 1/8. That way it gives me enough, about 1/4 of an inch that I could take off when I'm planing the top. I only cut that one at 3/4 of an inch so I can go across all 4 of them. That way I can break them apart. Now that we have the first cut, we need to mark all the sides. The easiest way to do that is that now that shorter cut is on there, we're just going to rotate it over and connect all the dots. I have them all marked now. So the blade is set at 3/4 of an inch from when we ripped down the end of it there. I'm going to do a 3/4 inch all the way around so I can get them all lined up, and then we'll go through deeper. We'll end up having to finish off with a handsaw. Taking the smaller 3/4 inch bite the first time around makes it so that the saw isn't fighting as bad. If you try to go down, I think this one goes down to like 1 3/4. It's just too much for it to take all at once. Okay, you can see it's pretty well flat. I'll smooth it off a little bit with the sander. Just gonna do it 3 more times. So I took the top off of the sawhorses and I just flipped it over and put it on top of these leftover pieces just so I can get it off the ground a little bit. And we're going to attach the legs to it on this side. This is not the full width of it. This is going to be the middle section of it. So what I want to do is I want to attach the legs to it now so I can put the rest of the pieces on after this part's done. So the first thing we're going to be doing is figuring out the length of it so I can mount the legs onto it, and then we'll go from there. First, I'm just using a 12-inch speed square. I do have a longer framing square here, but I want to get a true corner here first. I want to go about as long as I can, where I'm touching all the boards basically. And I'll be doing it on both sides. This is very fluid as far as the length, because I'm just trying to get an overall nearness. So I'm not going to be measuring the length. I'm just going to be using as long as I possibly can. And then, because it's not built to a spec plan or anything like that. As you can see, as I'm doing this, these are definitely not even boards, which is fine because it's the bottom. And like I had said before, we're going to finish off the top with a router plane so it'll be all smooth. If you're doing this yourself and you didn't have rough cut lumber like this and you had bought like 2x6s, you could make it lined up, but I've tried to do that in the past and it never gets smooth. Also, 2x6s have those rounded corners, so it doesn't really work as well. I would recommend always do this, and then even if you don't have a router, you can do it with a belt sander. It just takes a lot longer. But you can get the job done with different tools. I've just acquired these tools over years of working on projects. So I marked those. It basically just gives me an idea where the posts are actually going to mount on the sides, and then we're going to go through and actually mount them. We're going to be using these timber lock. They're screw lag screws, whatever you want to call them. These are 10-inch ones. I had these from another project. I have like several boxes left over. And my thought is if they're strong enough to hold together retaining walls and stuff like that, it'll work for this. Also, there's going to be a perimeter around the outside of the legs, so it'll lock it in even better. But so this is where we're at right now. So these are the ones that we took the piece out of yesterday, so we're going to mount those first. They're both going to go on this side of it, and then the other side will be the ones that aren't chiseled out like this. You can see that those are a little proud or sticking out, these screw heads here. On some of them I was able to see them. In the other ones, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a flap wheel and smooth them off so that I can mount the boards to them. So the next step is to stabilize the legs. They're attached to the top with the big lag screws that you saw, but over time they could spread out or just not stay true. So we're going to be putting 2 rails on each side, and then we're going to put boards across the top, effectively making a shelf down there too where you could store things on, which I think would be useful in the future. Okay, so remember this table is flipped upside down right now, so these are the legs. I want to set the shelf up off the ground a little bit, so we're going to put a separation in here. I think we're going to put them so they're 5.5 inches deep. So if I put them 2.5 inches off the ground, that'll make them 8 inches overall off the ground, which I think would be a pretty good height for putting a shelf underneath there. So we're going to set a line down 2.5 inches on both of these, and then we're going to run the board across. So next we're going to mount this board flush here. This will be the top of the shelf when it's all done. We're only going to put 2 on them for now. It's just so I can level this out and make it so that it'll be able to transfer right side up. So we're going to be installing these heavy duty casters. What's cool about these casters are when you want it to roll around, you lock them in the down position so it lifts the table up actually. And then when you don't want to use it, it'll lower the table down so that it's on firm footing. They're rated for like a lot more than what this thing's weighted for. What this thing should weigh, even though this thing's going to be pretty heavy. So we're going to figure out how to put these in there now. So it came with this handy dandy template here. And basically what you do is you line, it's upside down, you remember. The arrow points up, so in our case down. And then you line this up with the center of the leg, which we have more than enough leg to do whatever we want. And then you got to put some marks on it. And we're just marking them out. That one probably is not going to work because it's in a knot. Next you grab this part, which normally this would be the top, but since we're working on it, we have to install it upside down, which just, so if you're watching this trying to install these in the future, remember that I'm doing it upside down. Directions. So after perusing the directions, it's pretty simple. You just take the caster, put it into the silver plate with the lock washer closest to where it'll lock up to the piece of steel. And then you simply thread on the bolt. It came with these little wrenches, and since I don't want to walk and go get another one, we're going to use them. I think there's 2 different sizes on here, it looks like. And we're just going to mount and screw it down. Now we're going to attempt to right this thing up. So oh yeah. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So to use the casters that we just installed, they're pretty simple. All you actually do is you go up to them, put your foot on the thing, push it down, then just push down on it. And they lock in place, and then you can roll it around. To drop it back down to a stable working height, you got to be a little slow with this. You pop the first one. The second one, it's going to make a thud, but it sets it down real good. So I have it's up right now, and we got to fill in this gap here to bring the boards out to the edge of these legs. I already have the boards marked with the screw locations and all set to screw in, so now I'm just going to glue them and screw them in there, and I'll set a time lapse for you to see. So I made a mistake. I was supposed to glue the boards on this side where I had cut it down to 4.5 inches. This is this full 5.5 inches. I had always said that if I did a YouTube channel and made mistakes, I would show them. So I'm pulling them off. I already got this one off. I'm going to pound the nails back through and then put them on the correct side. You can watch the rest of me fix up my mistake. Now we're going to be starting the board that's going to go around the edge. So my idea was to have two that stick out so you have a little bit of a lip to clamp to. So this is just going to be the first one. I put some glue on it. I already marked it, and we're going to slap it on. Okay, now we have to cut the ends of both sides square so that we could put the end boards on. I don't know how well this shows up on camera, but as you can see, it's not very even as I move my hands across here. It's highs and lows. So we're going to use a carpenter square to make a line all the way across. And we're going to come back from the other side here and mark the other side. It's a lot safer to have the wider part of the fence sitting down instead of trying to float it out there like that. Now we get the fun part of cutting most of it with the handsaw. So you can see it's a little proud here because when I cut it, I'm not that great with a handsaw, and it starts tight up here and comes down here. So we're going to fix that with an angle grinder with a sanding wheel on it. And I'll show you how I do that real quick. see how it sticks out way here. We're going to make it so it's flush. Now that I've squared up the edges here and made it so that it's as plumb as I can make it to the legs themselves and the top, we're going to put an end board on the end so that there's something to clamp to when we're working on the top of it. I don't plan on gluing this one on either side because eventually I might be putting in a vise, and it'd be easier to be able to remove this than have it glued on there and be permanent. So that's kind of the next step here, and we'll go from there. That's where we're going to end the video today. The top of this still needs to be smoothed out. I left it rough kind of on purpose because I'm really not the most precise person. And I had a plan to plane it off with my router plane later and smooth it all off. That process is going to take a while. It's enough to at least make another video out of. And you have the overall shape of it. I don't want this video to be an hour and a half or even an hour or 45-minute long video. At this point in the YouTube career, I will probably, when it's all done, put the two videos together to make one long one, so it could be more of like a tutorial if somebody wants to build one of these. Construction of this is very sturdy, as you've seen. The top is 5.5 inches thick, and with the casters it moves around really easy. But it's sturdy enough that if we have to work on it, if I ever have to plane or anything like that, it'll hold up to it. The finishing process is just going to take a while because I have to plane it off smooth, fill in the cracks with wood filler, and then sand it down and finish it. I'm thinking that's going to take quite a while. And not that it'll be a very long video for YouTube, but overall it'll just take some time. Next week I'll be up north, so I'm going to be doing some mechanical type videos. Plan is to try to fix my Bobcat 753 so that it doesn't keep trying to drive around by itself and kill me. I really don't like that. We also have a couple snowmobiles that we are thinking about doing some work on that I have all the parts and materials to do it. I just haven't gotten around to it, and since there was no snow last year, we just never got to it. But it'd be nice to have those done before the snow gets too deep up north so we can actually use them for snowmobiling and get to the adventure part of Bacon Adventures. Thank you for watching this video. I do very much appreciate it. I hope to have inspired someone out there to get up and do something. The goal here is to get people to do stuff. I'm going to probably harp on this at the end of most videos because in my life I've found that being sedentary and not doing things when you can, or coming up with excuses not to do things, not to go see friends, not to do stuff, is so easy, so much easier than actually getting up and doing stuff. Getting out of your comfort zone and actually trying something is nice. It's what I'm doing with this YouTube channel. It betters you, and I think it makes my mind work a little bit better. Otherwise, I get kind of into a foggy state, and I don't like that. Until next time, in about 2 weeks, I'll come back and I'll get this all finished up, and I'll get you a video on how I finish it up. And then we'll start working on some charcuterie boards for Christmas presents, and I believe a desk that we have to finish out for my daughter that wants it because she's going to be getting her first apartment. Once again, thank you. I very much appreciate it. You have a great day.